Thank you for joining us. This is our 10th episode of Muay TV. And before I introduce our guest, I'd like to thank everyone that has supported this and made this possible. Our sponsors, the gym family, our staff, friends. We're thrilled to be doing this, and we look forward to doing more in the future. And now, joining us today, our special guest, Marty Farmer. Marty's a retired pro MMA fighter. Marty is interesting because he's a dual style expert. He has a high skill in both jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. Really, Marty is a local legend, and he's known around these parts as Sacramento's deadliest man. Marty, it's an honor to have you. Thanks for coming down, man. How are you?
I'm great. It's an honor to be here. I tried to get Sacramento's handsomest man, but everyone couldn't stop laughing. I don't know what that's
about. but Sacramento's deadliest man. And I gave you that name, I don't know, last year. And it came off something I was doing on the bike on Strava. And I was joking around, and I nicknamed myself Sacramento's fastest man. And all the really competitive cycling guys out there kind of got butthurt by it. And you know what? The same thing happened when I started putting that on Instagram with you. And I was like, who is it? Who is Sacramento's deadliest? And my Instagram is really popular with the martial art community, especially here in Northern California. So everyone's watching it. And it makes you think about it. And it's a great title. I think it's got a great ring to it, and it rings true. I mean, I've been in martial arts for a long time, and you're one of the most skilled and one of the largest martial artists, and on the feet and on the ground. So, it was funny watching the knee-jerk ego reactions from the other guys in the area. And but you know what? There was no rebuttal. Every time I do it, there's no one chiming in like, who? I want that. Not like the cycling.
Let's break that down a little bit. And what are the qualifications to be the most deadliest man? I'd say, obviously the martial arts that, you already said, his jiu-jitsu is, how long have you been jiu-jitsu? More than 10, even 15, 20 years or something?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I've been a black belt for 11 years.
Yeah, that alone speaks volumes. And then you got he's the MMA and Muay Thai. But on top of all that, he's a great shot. He hunts. He knows how to wield a weapon. and those...
there's a lot of factors.
There's a lot of factors.
Yeah, and I weigh all of those. And, I'm a matchmaker. I'm always looking to create a match. And, even in our own stable, like, who's going to match with you? Who's going to match with him? And, sizing up even the local players on the scene, Marty would do very, very well.
Well, you might be a champion Muay Thai fighter, but what's your ground game look like? You get in the water with a shark and you can't swim. What are you going to do?
That's why I wanted to invite him on, because Marty's a mystery. When I did write that, no one people within our circle know from me talking about it. But other than that, people don't know and never heard of Marty, which is we got to fix that. So I had to invite him on. Again, when I say, a great martial artist, I don't give that out lightly. And Marty's a lifelong martial artist, at least in his adult life. But yeah, there's a lot of factors, and we wanted to talk about that a lot today. But I think, Marty, the first place is, your start in martial arts. How'd you get into it?
Well, I appreciate all of that said about me. It means a lot. Martial arts has been central to me, pretty much my whole adult life, like you said. I started with jiu-jitsu in a small little mountain town called Auburn, and they had a taekwondo school in a strip mall that 2 days a week they had a blue belt in jiu-jitsu that started teaching. And I found an actual printed out flyer taped to some window, and that was it.
How old were you?
I think I was 19. I'm not positive. I think it was a 19, I think.
Yeah, so a little later.
Yes, sir.
After high school. But why? Why martial arts?
If I'm being totally honest, it's that I never wanted to be the big guy who couldn't fight. That's where it started. I felt vulnerable. I felt sort of, strange. I knew I didn't know how to fight. And maybe that was a big difference between me and other people, or the way we thought about it, is that I had no illusions. I knew that if you don't learn it, you don't know it. And so that was a driving force. I didn't want to get beat up on the street. I didn't want to feel like I couldn't handle myself. And it was right before the big boom of MMA as well, before that big fight on the Ultimate Fighter, the first season with Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner. So it was really the dark ages, and I didn't know much about it. But I had a friend who had all these magazines and books and stuff from the competitions in Japan. And so that really kind of broke my little 19-year-old brain. And it was just super important to me, and it was really all I was thinking about at the time. And that just was about 20 years ago, and I don't think much has changed since then.
So the interest in fighting and like real life self-defense.
Yes, sir.
And that's interesting because that's how me and my brothers got involved as well, was like being involved in a lot of street altercations and living with that as a reality and being a little fearful, which is motivating. And we always wanted to be ready because things like that happen. But why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Why did you pick that for your style?
So at the time, there wasn't very many opportunities to train what I considered something real. I didn't have any knowledge ahead of time, but there wasn't any boxing gyms in my small town. I was already too old for wrestling and things like that, and I had remembered being bullied as like a 10 or 11-year-old or whatever, those school-age kids. You get bullied, and it's still fresh in your mind if you're 19 or whatever. So I went with jiu-jitsu because it was taught, in the same little town, but it was also one of those foundational things in real fighting that I was interested in. And I think it was a very simple step from, well, how do people who really know how to fight, what do they do? What have they done? Well, just do that. And so I started training there, and there was a few local guys that were wanting to fight MMA, and so I just fell in with their sort of group. And we were all just a ragtag assortment. We didn't know each other or anything. But, yeah, that was it.
So it was grassroots from the jiu-jitsu and the MMA at that same taekwondo gym?
Yeah. And
what was the name of it?
I don't even remember the name of it anymore. I don't know if they still have it. But my first coach was there, and he was a student of Cassio Wernick, who has a big school in Sacramento, still to this day.
That was the blue belt who was teaching you guys?
Yeah, he
what was
under
his name?
Cassio.
Do you remember him?
His name was Joseph Rangel, and he was a policeman in the small town and everything, so that was also interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started doing jiu-jitsu in El Dorado Hills for like a week or two before I moved to Nevada City for a little bit, and then I was doing jiu-jitsu with Avila, can't remember his first name, but he was a Cassio black belt. I just, Auburn to Nevada City isn't too far away, so
definitely
such
not.
a small world. Anyways, I thought maybe
is.
that was him or something. But
yeah,
that's awesome. What was your, when you did jiu-jitsu? What was your kind of like, what was that moment when you knew that was the style you wanted to work with, or that was going to do it for you? When you mentioned that you wanted a real martial arts that was going to be practical in a street fighting application.
Yes, sir.
What was there a moment that you were like, this is awesome. This will work? Was somebody choke you out or something?
So I don't know if there was one moment that happened. I think it was a slow realization, and I think that it took many years before I realized that you've chosen this. This is a thing you're going to do. I didn't really wasn't aware of it. As a man in my early 20s, I don't think I was thinking very straight. But yeah, it just looking back, it's obvious that it spoke to me right from the start. And I think sometimes when you meet and bump into what's going to be your thing, it isn't always so stark. And that's how it was for me. It was sort of just became my life very organically, very nice and smooth.
Did you take a fight out of that gym?
No, that gym, I trained there for about 2 years. Maybe almost 2 years, and then they closed down, and I had to trek my way into the big city. And in Roseville, there was a gym, and that's where I met my first real like long-term jiu-jitsu coach and MMA coach, and then those guys, were taking it an extra level of serious. And so that was really good. That was like I rolled with the instructor. He was much smaller than me, about 140 pounds, and he choked me like I wasn't nothing. And so that was kind of a big deal. He kept asking me if I was all right, which was also demeaning. I was about 110 pounds bigger, and he's like, "You all right? Man, stop asking me that."
Got to make sure it teaches you a lesson.
Yeah.
When did you realize you had a high skill level and high level of body control?
I think that it was, again, a very piecemeal thing. They were good about bringing in sparring partners for me, other big guys. I hesitate to call them heavyweights because they were just big guys who trained from different gyms, and that to me doesn't necessarily make a heavyweight. But I felt like they didn't move that well, and they weren't very well trained, and it was surprising because they'd bring someone in and I'd be terrified. We'd spar and I'd win pretty easily. And so that makes you feel okay after a while, but you keep thinking, well, the next one is going to come in is just going to slap me around. And then you do okay with that person. And then, wow, okay, well, he maybe wasn't very good. Okay, the next one that comes in, and I felt really good after a while. When I started competing in jiu-jitsu, that really paved the way because it's objective. You score points for this and that and this, and we know who wins and we know who loses, and so it just helped propel me because I was beating guys that had won big tournaments and they were from big gyms, and they made me nervous just to be around them. So I think it was, again, like a gradual process.
That your skill level built, and then you realized you're getting all these guys?
Yes, sir.
You're beating the other guys in your division?
Yes, sir. My first match at Purple Belt, which is an intermediate belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. After that is brown and black. My very first match at Purple Belt, I was very nervous and I was sick, and I went against a guy who had just won a big, giant national level tournament. It was my very first competition at Purple Belt, and I submitted him really quick and easy, and I didn't know that he had won these big tournaments until afterwards, which I was thankful about. But that kind of helped me a little bit as a 23-year-old kid or whatever I was at the time. I felt like these are things that I can do. It's not all out there for those people, which is kind of a thing that I think we all might struggle with it. Maybe struggle is a big word, but the idea that, what gym are they from? Oh man, I'm not going to do any good. That it's all for someone else. It's not for us. It's all for those people out there. I could never do it like they can do it. And that slowly went away after a while. I also felt like I could do some moves that maybe my size wouldn't lend itself to. When my coach was talking to me a lot, he would say, you move like a small guy. You can kind of do things like a smaller man. And that was helpful input to get. It was a very positive environment. So.
What competitions were they? Was it IBJJF?
Yeah.
Was this like an actual sanctioned, or it wasn't?
Yeah, so I grappled in a lot of tournaments over the years, all the way from white to brown. And then once I was firmly entrenched in my brown belt, I sort of focused on MMA. It just needed all my attention. That fighting atmosphere, I just couldn't be halfway in and halfway out and do jiu-jitsu and MMA. It just wasn't going to work. So I switched, pretty much full time to more like a combat mindset.
If I could go back to the skill and the body control thing, when I started working with you, and for you guys that don't know, me and Marty have been working together in the striking realm for a long time, almost 15 years, since Vernon Street Corner Gym. Marty used to work across the street at the school from the gym. So I used to see Marty all the time, and I would yell over at him. But him and his girlfriend at the time, Dana, who they both ended up getting married out of the gym, corner gym marriage.
That's right.
but yeah, Marty, when he would come in, he already had a black belt quality about his martial arts. And yeah, your body control for a big guy, and I mean, you're a giant.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we see you in your form now, and I talk about you. Yeah, Marty's walking around at this weight, but I know you lost a bunch of weight.
Yes, sir.
And when I first started training him, everyone used to take their shoes off at the gym, you know, and all the shoes are laying by the ring, and I'm walking through there, you know, like I always do, picking on people and, you know, whose gym bag's this, and I see a huge desert boot. You know, like a stylish, like an English style Clark's desert boot.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like a size 16, like Andre the Giant. And I'm like, whose shoe is this? And look around. I held this thing up. It was like Shaquille O'Neal, you know.
I mean,
and there was like
you
Marty.
obviously knew who it was, right?
I was intrigued. But it was Marty. And I was like, well, I'm a little taller than Marty.
Yes,
but
sir.
I wear a size 12 and a half. Like, Marty is a small giant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he came down, when I met him, he was under 300 pounds. But then I hear he came down from over 300 pounds.
Yes, sir.
And now he's in this skeleton, and he's a fierce jiu-jitsu expert at this weight.
Yep.
And then here he goes. He wants me to teach him the Regan striking style to make him the ultimate assassin.
Sacramento's deadliest man.
And that's where it goes to. I didn't just make that up. I've been watching this guy just manhandle people. And that's where me and you had a great conversation earlier this week about body control.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, we're always talking about discipline. And one of the main characteristics that we teach and you have to be successful in martial arts is self-discipline. Like, can you control yourself? Like, we've been talking a lot about that. And a lot of people can. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm like, you need to train Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that breaks a lot of guys' ass. They can't do that for more than 12 weeks, you know, and it kind of reveals something about their organization and character. But controlling yourself is only the first step. We've known you and other high-level martial artists. You get so good at controlling your own body
Yes, sir.
that you can control another man's body against their will. And you're really a perfect example of that. I mean, you could grab Justin right now and just carry him away.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing that I could do about it. I could fight. I could put up a fight, and I have. But yeah, in the end, when I first started coming to the gym here,
We're getting in the van.
Down to the river you go. What are you going to do?
There's nothing I can do. But when I first started coming to the gym, I was doing jiu-jitsu, and that's when we had I'd say a much better jiu-jitsu program at that time. Well, we had Justin Wall, so he was, he was working on it. But, you know, we rolled. I rolled with you quite a few times, and yeah, it was like one of those things that you, like in jiu-jitsu, you can roll with anybody. It doesn't matter size, age. You can do something with that person, whether it's, you know, doesn't matter. And which is a great thing about jiu-jitsu. And so it gives an opportunity to somebody like myself to learn from a bigger, more experienced person. And he would do things. And I'm pretty good at jiu-jitsu. Like I scramble around. I'm quick, and you know, I try to just, like, you know, do everything I could to keep him off me, and then just scramble to his back. But man, he would, all the framing and the little blocks and the little, you know, he just pick me off, and it was it's awesome. I mean, rolling with
beautiful.
Somebody as experienced as you learn so much. And
It's beautiful to watch.
even
Well, thank
in,
you.
you know, working with you in Muay Thai and stuff, it's you know, it speaks a lot back to you being only, you know, 20 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
When you started, it's really hard for anybody that age or in life in general to stick with something for so long. And the reason that you started it was because you knew, I don't know how to fight.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of people, including myself, I in my head, I can fight. I'm a badass. I'm tough. And until you put yourself into a situation around people who, you know, are skilled, trained fighters, and it's nothing. It's not about, you know, you just coming out of the womb knowing how to, you know, use your arms and legs and walk.
Yeah.
Martial arts is it's a skill, it's an art, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get fucked up.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
back to the body control thing, and I got
Yes,
that
sir.
from Bruce. Sifu Lee was talking about, as a human being, to fully express yourself, that includes your body. You have to be able to control and summon control over your body. And he said, I loved it too. He said, that's not easy to do. And it's not. Go run right now. No, don't eat. Go run. And then people can't do that. But you can do that. And for you as a martial artist, you've been like clockwork through the years. I mean, can you speak on discipline and controlling yourself? And how do you do that?
Yes, sir.
That's rare. Not everyone can do that, especially over 20 years.
Right.
Like you see guys do
Absolutely.
it for a couple years or whatever, but to do it for more than a decade, you put in like real years too. Because I chat with a lot of people and they're like, "Yeah, I've been training since '92." I'm like, "Bullshit! You took 10 years off."
Right.
Which, I mean, your training's still relevant. I love you and respect it, but some of these guys haven't taken any years off.
But you're not really you might have had the black belt 10 years ago, but you got your black belt, you continue to train.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
you've reached basically the pinnacle of,
Respect.
there you can get a couple of stripes and,
Yeah.
a quarter belt maybe when you're like 80 or something like
Right.
that. But,
Right.
that's, a lot of people get to a certain point and then they're like, well, that's it. And they don't keep going.
Absolutely.
So how do you do it?
Where's your longevity and
where's
discipline
the
come?
motivation? What keeps you coming back to gym?
Absolutely. So it's lucky for me in that I found martial arts through cage fighting. it's backwards, But I wanted to do the MMA thing. I wanted to be able to defend myself. And in doing so, I really maybe fell out of love with prize fighting as my 20s wore on and I got to be an older guy. And just really liked the training and the martial arts aspect and found it to be present in all facets of my life. And so it's really easy to, at least it was for me, that to not give up on that. You don't want to, as the Canadians would say, dust on pracky when it's something you love so much. And
Dust on pracky?
Where did that go from?
You need to dust it off?
That means you don't show up to practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. But
I like it.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, I hate to be this cliche, but if you talk to a surfer that's been surfing for all those years, and then you say, well, why do you surf still? And they just look at you like you might be crazy because it's something that's like as goofy as it sounds within them and all around them, and like they move to where the good surfing is.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've done that forever. I just wanted to train, and that was a big important thing. And I started training with Ezra when I was 25 years old, and started training there, and then found jobs that were near that gym.
Yeah.
And so it
Cut your travel time down.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I what keeps me coming back is that, you get hurt, you know what it's like without it. And so you don't take it for granted. At least I don't. And I think people like us, I mean, you know what it's like. You deal with an injury and you can't train, and all you think about and want to do is train, for all the benefits that it gives you.
Yeah. I'm in that. I just I tore my meniscus on Monday. And I've just been doing nothing but, trying to.
And I seem to remember us in a boys' retreat out there in, where were we in? I don't know if we were in Truckee or Tahoe, but we were all having a good time. And then your alarm went off to go run. I thought you were just gonna dust on it, but you didn't.
No, hell no. Yeah, you gotta
Discipline.
feed the demon.
Yeah.
And it is something that, if you're a disciplined person, the discipline drives your success, and there's nothing else but to do what you need to do in order to give yourself that gratification in life. Because if we all know what we need to do. You need to stop eating the shit that you're eating. You need to exercise more. You need to sleep. You need to, the simple things. And it's not complicated. Like, it was literally just those 3 things right there will change
Yes, sir.
your entire life. But they also help you with other things that you need to do. But I think that All right, kind of lost my train of thought there, but
I get it. Marty, how old are you?
I'm coming up on 38, so I'm still 37 right now.
Yeah, so I mean, you still are active. You're a big part of my heavyweight stable. You give professional level sparring to my guys.
Yes, sir.
People see you looking extremely sharp. I mean, I've seen you and you know your fitness level, where you are mentally, and I would say you're probably better than ever as a man.
Thank you, sir.
And
you're a father now.
That's right.
About to be father too.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
That changes a lot.
I mean the development as a person and just the skill level in both areas. And then people are like, well, how come he's not fighting? And I think about it. I'm like, I'm going to put Marty on a cycle, and I'm going to call the matchmaker promoter, and I got the guy, you know, the super heavyweight dark horse coming on, you know, Sacramento's deadliest. But do you want to fight? You know, do you miss fighting? Can we get you back in there?
Nice pitch.
Every now and then I really do miss it. I do, and I wonder if it's just an ego trip or whatnot. But when, especially if someone is like, "Hey, you know that heavyweight?" I go, "Yeah," and they go, "You'd beat him," and my thought is, "I know," but then I think, "Man, that'd be cool, wouldn't it?"
Yeah.
I'd be like, but again, it starts to dissolve because I think about why would it be cool? Because everyone would be looking at me and taking my picture.
Yeah.
And like that's whack. I don't know.
I get it.
So inspirational
Yeah.
from a person in my you know age and where I'm at in martial arts.
Yeah.
To hear you say those things, because it is so it's addicting. Like
Yes,
you
sir.
want to get. I mean, I love the show. I do. I love the lights on me. I'm I'm
Yeah.
an exhibitionist. I
Yeah.
do love that that stage time.
It's thrilling.
Yeah.
Super thrilling. But it's you don't have to do it, and I love that you still show up and prove that, because you know, then you don't have to be showboating, because you
Yes,
can
sir.
still kick those guys' ass,
Yes,
and
sir.
you can still play on Thursday, and you know you
Yeah.
can,
Yes.
you know there's
But-
plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, he's still in the stable, but I've put him into a position of an elder lieutenant, if you will.
Yes, sir.
And even though he's not competing anymore, he's still a black belt martial artist. And you guys see me. I mean, people, I was talking about it earlier. I had a great podcast with Fight Culture. Marissa, shout out Fight Culture, and Berto's upcoming fight. But people see me. They're not sure how old I am.
Right.
But my fitness and skill level is higher than ever. And Marty's in that same boat with his black belt journey, and you're on the way too. You're deep in it, and your fitness and skill.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not in your 20s, but that's just living that martial art lifestyle. And man, as I get older and older, that lifestyle that I picked for myself is shining brighter than ever. And yeah, I love that you're not tempted by the ego. You've already fought professionally.
Yes, sir.
With the MMA glove on enemy grounds, and with a winning record, with beautiful skill. So,
Thank you.
you know, that's not the only journey. And I talked about that before. And you know, I get a little bit of hate from the fight community. But yeah, I see a lot of fighters when they're done, they can't find their purpose. Why to continue? Why do we keep going in the cooker? Why do we keep sparring? Why do we keep training? You know, where's the motivation? There's no fight coming up, but that's the real shit. That's
Absolutely.
at the heart of it. And your training is going to last a lifetime. My approach to motivation is more Zen-like. It's like the moon in the water. You know what I mean? No one knows what I mean. The moon in the water is one of the
The
original Zen poems. The moon and the water are connected
Oh, it's a poem.
naturally.
It's a
yes,
natural poem.
it's
Okay.
a Zen poem. Yes.
Okay.
The moon doesn't know of the water. The water doesn't know of the moon. But when they're both out, they're connected. You can see the moon in the water naturally. And
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with you. Me and fighting and martial arts and just like all of this stuff that's happening, it's just in my nature. Like, I give it up to that. I don't even overthink it more than that. If I was
Absolutely.
sitting around, this inner voice in my head would be like, call Chris. What the fuck, Justin, let's get him a fight.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like I'm playing the card that I'm dealt. And I found that myself and a lot of the men in my bloodline have this as well. And it's just, it's just like the books you read and the stuff you're doing. It's like part of your character. But yeah, I respect it a lot, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future. Marty, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, so in 10 years, I see myself lying about my age. But
that's like me. That's my move. Don't tell anyone. I'm 38.
38.
It's funny.
My doctor said I'm in my 30s.
All the kids are like, this dude's always fronting about his age. He's I'm 38 next week. He's like, you just
People
said you
aren't
were
sure.
fucking 50, dude.
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah, absolutely. I see myself still training, and that was a big influence of that corner gym and those things they used to say. I had never heard anyone talk like that so vehemently and so passionately about that element to it. All I thought of was prize fighting and this and that. And you used to say a lot to the whole class. You'd say, I'm going to come check in on you guys in 10 years or 20 years. And then what are you going to do? And you were the first one to really go, prize fighting, okay, and what's after that? What do you do? And I'd never really thought about that. And I think that's a thing that a lot of, when you're a pro fighter, you're a dog that maybe sometimes just knows how to bite. And that's it. But that's not it. You're going to live much longer, and life is going to be long. And so that's where I want to be. I want to be hopefully still on the same path I'm on. A few more gray hairs and a few more bumps, but I'm just going to continue on in training and hopefully that my path never diverges. And like you were saying earlier about it's in your nature and you've been doing it so long, that's a really cool way to feel, and that's a very lucky position to be in. I feel lucky about making those decisions earlier, and I feel lucky about it's like a tree that encounters something when it's growing, and it grows around it, and it grows through it. You can see a fence or something like that. That's the way it feels like, and so there's no maybe option to grow a different way. We grew over that. We grew around it and through it. That's the way we're going to go. So in 10 years, that's hopefully where I'm at.
So with segueing from trees, I feel like what else like hobbies do you have? Besides martial arts? Like I feel like you do woodworking, or just chopping trees, maybe picking trees up out of the ground.
I just rip them right out of the ground. Yeah.
Like what is
root
that?
Ball and all that. I like to work on wood stuff, but I'm not very good at like making a straight cut and doing all that. So woodworking is really, really hard for me. I'm kind of all thumbs. I really like outdoor things. So I'm in the mountains a lot, in the woods a lot, and doing a lot of stretching and things like that. But that's kind of martial arts. I feel it's very similar. And that recovery is something I've only maybe recently started to get into, with stretching my body out, whether or not I feel like I need it, instead of thinking about my body only when it starts to hurt, trying to keep it afloat.
Recovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah, instead of letting it go. And
because this is our vehicle,
some things
right? As a martial artist, we all have that vehicle, that does so much and it needs to be maintained. But
walk us through some things that you do, or what have you learned?
Yeah, so like a lot for me is I'll get up in the morning and I'll be walking very strangely, and I'll just get on with my day, which is a bad habit that I've had for many years. But I've recently started to stop and realize, well, why are you walking this way? Because something hurts. Why are you moving this way? Oh, because something hurts. So I need to check in with these old bones, a couple times a day. And I stretch specific things, and I have those, I'll use something hard and dig in somewhere when I need it. And I'll do that regardless of how I feel. And it's been keeping me injury free for a while. I find that I'll get injured a lot if I neglect those things.
Do you take any supplements? Or?
I used to, and I didn't feel much of a difference, so I kind of stopped. But I'm totally ignorant on that, and I don't feel strongly about not taking supplements or anything. It'd probably be good.
Creatine's always one that I think everybody should take. Just if anything,
it puts water in your muscle or something.
It does a lot. Yeah, but it also it keeps you hydrated, which also hydrates your brain. It helps with CTE, or just kind of just keeping the brain healthy.
Yes, sir.
But creatine's it's not just like I'm a muscle man, or I want to look big. It's absolutely, there's way more benefits to creatine. So,
and men and women should be on it, right?
Absolutely.
I think, yeah.
Man, soon I'm going to start doing supplements.
Yeah.
He's just
I've been
on
on
the
I've been on
carbs
sugar.
and sugar,
Yeah, I've been on sugar.
which isn't a bad thing if you
And-
exercise a lot.
Yeah, I've been on sugar, magnesium, potassium. I guess I am supplementing because
Yeah.
shout out Magnac. I like
Oh,
to
the
thank
Magnac,
her.
yeah.
But yeah, Magnac, great. You got to keep that stuff coming in if you're using a performance machine. But yeah, the joint mobility, huge. And yeah, if you're using your body and it's all bound up, especially if you're you got mileage,
Hey,
you
Chris.
got to split it up.
Throw me one of those Bee Jollies over here.
But Marty,
Yeah.
what about the hunting? Can you take us?
Yeah.
I
want to hear more about this.
Yeah, Marty's a hunter, and I've been asking him about it. I've been super interested for most of my life, and I'm very intrigued. And it's a big part of our local culture. Northern California, beautiful gem of the country. You know?
Absolutely.
And Bay Area people are just finding out about this area up to the Sierra Nevadas, but man, a gem. All the nature up here. Can you take us on a little journey about hunting?
Absolutely. We should all get in the car and go sometime.
I'm serious, like deer hunter.
Yeah, like deer hunting.
Yeah, let's get it.
Do you the joke of like you do more just walking around in the nature than you do hunting things?
Yeah, a lot of times it's just taking a bow or a rifle for a walk.
Yeah.
But
it's a beautiful place.
Absolutely. We're fortunate to live in like Ezra was saying, in one of these gems here, and people are just starting to realize it, but hopefully they stay away.
People run for the hills. They move, right? They want to leave California and get away, but I'm just like, man, the locals here, if you can live here and you know how to live here, this is one of the best places in the country, best places in the world.
100%.
And I've been around a lot of places.
It's worth the money.
Yeah.
Well, you got to work though, but there's lots of work.
Right.
There absolutely is a lot of work.
Absolutely. And then the level of martial arts is really high in Northern California. I mean, you're well prepared for all those national level tournaments and in whatever the discipline is. No one is like, oh, you're from Northern California, oh, easy money. No way. You know, that's not the reputation we have, and it's based on reality. I lived in Seattle for several years, and I told them I was from Northern California and Sacramento area, and several people were like, oh, you guys really want to fight down there, don't you? I was like, yeah, I guess. And that was the joke. I would go out or hang out in Seattle. I only lived there for 3 years, but I used to joke that you just couldn't get beaten up in Seattle in a bar. Like you bump into someone and they would stare at the ground accidentally. You know what I mean? You'd bump
It is
into
a different culture up there.
Very different.
Yeah.
And I would
It's
tell
a lack
them,
of vitamin D.
yeah, I'd say in Sacramento, you got guys like trying to fight, like, what's up, bitch? And you didn't even talk to them. You didn't even look at them, and they like want to fight. And so that's like
yelling out of the car window while you're just walking on the road. What's up?
100%. You got to
"Oh,
actively
shit."
avoid fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to hunting.
Yes.
What's your do you hunt with a rifle or a bow typically? What's your
So I do both, and it's the hunting and outdoor thing has just been huge since I was a little kid. I inherited it as like a third generation hunter and outdoorsman in California. So that was sort of fed to me with the cereal spoon, if you will.
That's it's how you almost need to when you get into hunting, you have to know somebody, because if you don't know somebody, it's a long it's a long trek to try to figure out what you need, where to go.
Yes, sir.
It's not it's a passed down type of tradition.
Absolutely. And
That's why I've been bugging them. I've been bugging them because there's a couple guys here at the gym that do it, and I hear about it. I ask them, but yeah, you got to have it in, almost like surfing.
Yes, sir.
Yep, you got to know where to go, and people don't share their spots lightly.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Got to hide the local spot, bro.
there's only so many four-legged creatures out there, and you got more scent, more tracks out there. They'll take off.
Got to keep the weirdos out of there.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, there's still plenty of weirdos out there.
And that can be a really good, almost like martial arts experiences, like backpack hunting, especially backpacking in somewhere,
I love
several
backpacking.
miles. Yeah.
Big backpacker.
And it's the kind of fun that they describe as type 2 fun, right? It's not always so enjoyable in the moment, but afterwards, when you're sitting around thinking about it, wow, it feels meaningful. Not pleasurable, but meaningful. And I feel like, man, a lot of those backcountry backpack hunts are like that, where the weather is miserable, you don't sleep good, the food is lousy, and you're carrying everything on your back. That doesn't sound very fun. Okay, but getting punched in the face doesn't sound fun either. And that's kind of one of those things, right? Everyone talks about martial arts. They want to say, oh man, those people are crazy. Why would you do that? And all they're saying is they don't get it. And that's totally fine. They don't need to get it.
God, that's
It, but it's
good explanation.
Yeah.
it's just common knowledge that when you do something difficult, there's redeeming qualities to it.
Yes, sir.
And we're doing that in miniature controlled form in the gym. But when you go out on an excursion and you're in nature, I mean, just unplugging.
Exposed to the elements.
Just getting out from technology and disconnecting is
Yes, sir.
worth it and will make you high, and you'll feel it instantly. I started getting that on the bike because I started
Yeah.
spending all these hours a week just with the deer out there and just me out there. And I'm like, oh my God, I can feel myself thinking.
Yes.
Like I can breathe. It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
And also, I'm just grilling myself with these brutal workouts, and I get home and just feeling like a savage. You
Yes.
know, like what next? You know, the pain makes you stronger.
Absolutely. And like, what a big deal. I think as adult men, maybe we don't realize that, you know, well, what are you doing to actively aid in your self-esteem? How you view yourself? What's that situation looking like? I know for me, it's easy to not think in those terms. It's easy to be totally ignorant of that, but you hit on a really good point that is a thing you're doing for yourself as well.
It's
you know?
science.
Yeah.
It's and it's really common knowledge, but common knowledge these days is kind of twisted. Again, going back to the interview we had earlier, and they were like, well, Ezra, your coaching method is unorthodox. And I said, is it? I said, no, it's not. I said, I'm using the Rocky 1 formula. But in the modern generation, it is. Like the knowledge is skewed and it's looked at
That's
as weird. But my approach is very fundamental and very basic. And that knowledge is too. Like disconnect, go out, challenge yourself. And that's something that you want to do throughout your life.
Yes, sir.
Not just when you're 20 years old.
I
Yes,
might
sir.
be naive because you've been my only striking coach, but I don't feel like you are unorthodox
Right.
or flashy.
I'm super
we work
plain.
the
I'm
basics.
super normcore because the normcore stuff makes the professional striker disciplined.
Yeah.
And a
Yes.
lot of high-level guys, especially like 10-year guys, give them one combination to do like a jab cross hook and have them do it for 3 minutes on the heavy bag and don't say a word to them. And watch how many of them can do it without adding extra shit, without doing sloppy ones, and then you'll get to kind of measure and see the professional level of their striking because that's where most of it is. It's not in the combo. It's in the execution and the concentration. And that's why I was talking about body control.
Yes, sir.
Because if you can't control your own body, good luck controlling another trained man's body.
Absolutely. And like you drill it into our heads.
It's science. I just
Science.
know it, and I do it on large format too. That's the other thing people got to recognize.
With like 50 to 100 people a day.
Also with multiple generations,
Yes.
not just I had some sharp guys, 4 basketball guys that came in the 90s. Like I'm continuing to churn them out because I'm using a scientific method, but also we're being blessed by this community with A-grade athletes that could have wrestled or played football. Some of them do, but they in our neighborhood they want to do Muay Thai, they want to do Jiu-Jitsu, they want to
awesome.
do MMA.
It's
And they want to do real martial arts, which I love it too. We talked about that. Like things are going back to the 90s, and I'm not just talking about the clothes. It's talking about the training style. You know, the flashy pad work, pardon my, but all the new school stuff, like that stuff is being disproven, and people are going back to the heart, and that's where the good stuff is.
Absolutely.
Real martial art training, no talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit the back, 1, 2, 3.
I mean, when you watch watch videos of the Thai trainers hitting pads, I feel like it's the exact same thing that what we're doing.
Yes, it
It's
is.
nothing. It's not flashy. They're working the Dutch kickboxing or the Thai clinch.
Yeah.
It's not no dipping and dodging and shit.
My last few seasons in Thailand, I worked with Krusan Sitmanchai, which is one of the most renowned pad holders, Thai-style pad holders in this current generation. And his first 3 rounds every morning and every afternoon, it was the same patterns. It doesn't matter. Like that
Yeah.
was part of it. And you knew it so good and you knew what was coming, and he wasn't going to change it for nothing. That was part of it. It's not about doing new stuff and entertaining you. It's about you mastering this stuff and executing it and showing up and performing, like the real heart of fighting. And he understood the Thais. if your stuff doesn't work over there, you're going to find out real quick because everyone's fighting over there. So, yeah, I use that approach a lot, but I learned that before him. I relearned that with him, but I learned that from my teacher, and I learned it in Japanese karate. I mean, these ways are passed in all the ways through the true master teachers, but I'm still using these methods with you guys. In our style, we have very technical striking, but I'm using the mental physicality sword just as much. You know, like banking on mental strength and conditioning, not just you having 50 different weapons. Shit, your first few fights, you're just a tractor. Yeah. You know, and I knew that, and we got right to work and got those wins.
You run them over.
That's what I knew what to do at the time.
That's awesome.
I had no finesse. I wasn't.
Matters so much.
Didn't know what I was. I just knew that I wanted to get on the fucking stage.
Yeah, the rudimentary. I love it, but I love. Just having the opportunity to be in the game and share all this knowledge that I've developed. I'm a proud representative, and I'm here for the betterment of the sport, and that's why I'm always. That's where all this stuff came from. And I was telling Marissa, Fight Culture, that I've been using social media and my voice before the phone to inspire and teach, but now we've created a stage and a microphone for ourselves, and now we can just spread it more.
Yeah. How old were you when you started fighting? When you said you got your brown belt and you started doing MMA more seriously?
I started fighting, my very first MMA fight, I was still a blue belt. And back in those days, that was more common. A blue belt was a harder to find rank back then. There was very few people doing jiu-jitsu at that time. And so I had my very first MMA fight when I was 22 years old. And then by the time I was a brown belt, I had to sort of give up just competing in jiu-jitsu, and that's when I focused on only fighting after that. But yeah, so that would have been in 2010, first MMA fight in January.
Mm-hmm.
How many fights total MMA?
Overall record of 4-1 in MMA.
Yeah.
Over the course of how long?
A long time. I had in those days it was really tough to find matchups. I had several. I had maybe for every one fight I had 10 that fell out.
Oh wow!
Now one reason Marty, his skill level is so high, and one thing I noticed about him immediately was his IQ and intellect. We had a little coffee shop that was in our neighborhood by the old gym and by his work, and I would go over there for 3 p.m. espresso right before the afternoon training, and I would go in there, and this is before I knew Marty. I seen him around the neighborhood. He was just starting to train, but I want to go in there, and he'd be sitting in the cafe, cross-legged, with an Oxford shirt, reading like Shakespeare, you know, and I'm like, look at this guy. Here's the deadliest guy,
Sacramento's most interesting man.
Yeah, but then he's reading. I mean, how are we gonna beat this guy? But Marty, where'd the reading come from? You've always been into reading.
Yeah, you know how to read?
That?
Yeah, I learned young. They taught me.
Hey, no one reads anymore, so especially a book. Like, you read a book,
right?
Take us there.
Yeah, I started to read really early, and then it was one thing I just really loved to do. Both my parents are big readers, and I got into it a lot, and I started working in a bookstore so that I could keep training and stuff. You know, I had to get real jobs, and boy, that really stoked the fire. I worked in a bookstore for 4 years, and that was perfect for a guy like me.
They don't even have those anymore.
I don't even know where one is.
And the one that you worked at, Borders, right?
Yeah.
My mother worked there for a bit.
Yeah.
And that place that place was great.
It was awesome, wasn't it?
But yeah, the reading.
Yeah. And it was great.
What kind of books? Like nonfiction, fiction?
I mean,
historical?
I read Playboy magazine, Penthouse magazine.
Yeah.
I liked everything. I liked
There's a lot of good literature in that one.
Fiction, nonfiction, really everything. And like I read a lot of the Jack London stuff and all these different. I like Cormac McCarthy, these kind of authors. But it's I'll read anything too. I'll read a vampire book or something. I'm not snooty. My nose is not up in the air, but I just like to read, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
what are you reading right now?
I'm reading a book, an old-fashioned thriller. It's called The Day of the Jackal, and it's just me and a bunch of grandpas that have read it. It's about a plot to assassinate the president of France.
Huh.
That sounds good.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I think that it's been really helpful to read a lot because it kind of makes you okay with quiet as well. And not just okay with it, but that it's nice. It's nice to sit and crack open a book if you're used to it. It can be a strange sort of hell if you're just used to being on your phone too much. I feel it in myself. If I've been on my phone a lot and then I go pick up a book, I feel the resistance there that's built up and how it doesn't want to go that way as easily as it used to, and I need to sort of work on that. But in the old days, that was, all there was for me. I had a flip phone and a book, and man, life couldn't be better,
Yeah, that's mental. Training your mind to not, go to the phone, and when you do pick up the book, it does have that kind of. I don't know how to explain it, but I know when you mean, where it's like not as entertaining. But I mean, you're into, you may be into the story.
Yes.
But I guess you're not.
It's different.
You don't have the flashy.
It's different.
Look to it.
You don't digest it
You
so
get anxiety.
Well,
you're like, fidgety and.
Yes, sir.
I've been talking about it, and it kind of goes back to questioning what is normal lifestyle now, and the technology that's been put upon us, and what can we do? How's it helping us? And what can we do? What are we losing out on that we had in the 90s or even pre-2010? And reading is one of them. And reading develops your speaking skills. Another thing that I learned about reading, and I mean the concentration, you can't read unless you concentrate. And I noticed that as a kid. I would have to read something 4 or 5 times because I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at the words, but
thinking about something totally different.
So I'd have to you have to draw a picture in your head while reading the words, which uses a special part of your brain that you don't use when someone's showing you the picture on your screen, if you can dig it. And the picture you can paint in your head, especially a person like me, I've always had a grand imagination, obviously. I mean, you guys looking at my content and the different ideas that I'm just spewing out. But some of that comes from the generation I grew up in. I grew up without a television for my first 10 years of life. And we imagined and you read, and you had to draw a picture of what was happening. My dad, when we were boys, when we were little kids, my dad used to read us The Hobbit, which has recently been accepted by the new generation, and those movies that came out are just loved, but they were loved books. And our dad used to read us maybe 20, 30 minutes before bed and make the voices and everything, and you imagined it. You imagined Gollum and all of these things. And yeah, that's a different part of your brain. And if you can dig it, and I've been exposing and pushing this onto my martial arts students, because martial arts is about training your brain, not just your six-pack. We're trying to do them both, right? Also, a lot of the good inspiration comes from the books, not just from the movies, but some of the best stuff isn't easily directed and put on a film. Look, they took them 50 years to make Lord of the Rings or whatever.
Right.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I wonder if that has any relation to picture books and books without pictures, like illustrations. I always wanted to pick up the books with like the illustrations and such.
It helps create the picture for the younger.
Yeah.
But also we liked them, like the maps and all the Tolkien drawings in those books. When you got to see Smaug the dragon or any of that stuff, it kind of put it, and it was even cooler that the author sketched that stuff up.
Absolutely.
You know what books I did like to read when I was a kid was I loved the books that had like the maps on them, and you knew where it was, kind of like a Lord of the Rings-ish style, or like
absolutely.
a MMORPG game or something like that, right?
For context,
we would be fully immersed in that stuff.
And then
role-playing games and read the script.
Well, you'd be like, talking. There was this one book in particular, and it had these all these animals, and they were like in a medieval setting. They had like swords, and there was like a rabbit and a raccoon and such like that.
Yeah.
And it was this a series of children's books, but it was really cool because you'd be reading about this one war, this one thing that they were doing, this mountain that they were passing, and then you'd go to like the front page, and there would be like the pass, you know, like you know, Sauron's pass or something.
Yeah.
You'd go look it up.
And it was
part are you at?
Yeah, and it was for me, I that kind of stuff kept me more captivated than, you know, like a full, in-depth, really wordy type of book. I was more of like a Harry Potter kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, especially when you're young, because you don't have that ability maybe so well when you're a kid, because you don't know as many things. So your palette with which to like interpret things and to imagine it is not as built up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like I tried to read the Jack London the Wolf one. What was the really popular Fang, something like that?
Yeah.
White Fang.
White Fang. Good book, but at that time it was a little. It was like his wording was a little boring for me.
The imagination, though, you got to flex that muscle. What are you imagining? What do you? I use that a lot with my students. I tell them, and I'm just copying this from other great teachers, but I ask the students, I'm like, use your imagination. You know, what's going to happen to you in a fight? Like, look at how you're looking on the bag after 5 minutes, like, you know, and then that hits hard. Like, and we were using our imagination. We didn't have to imagine much because we had just been attacked. So when we were hitting the bag, we had that in the back of our head. But the imagination and the reading goes hand in hand.
What a cool thing! Imagination. Like it's a great. It's a fun conversation. Because I
it's
haven't
super
really,
important.
Yeah,
and
really
I'm taking it from
about
Bruce
it.
Lee. Bruce Lee's talking about this and the exercise of the mind. Also, I realized at a young age that I have a really big imagination.
Yeah,
which is I've been using it.
It's a cool thing to be around somebody who's older like yourself who has an imagination, because it's as somebody who, you know, I'm a free thinker, kind of a, you know, reckless, wild person.
Exhibitionist, you already said.
Yeah, right. Thanks for bringing that back up. As I was coming out of my mouth, I was like, I don't know if that's the right word.
He's got pants
But
on.
it is.
Yeah.
If you know me.
Yeah.
But it's having seen adults with imagination is a beautiful thing, because it's not, you shouldn't let that go, and you kind of become like a stick up your ass kind of person if you don't have an imagination and you can't think, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have an open mind to different thoughts and different people's mindsets.
What a huge thing to have lost if you don't have it. You know, a big part
Totally.
missing.
Oh my
right?
God!
Yeah.
Like those movies when they hit you with the injections and you can't. What is that? In Equilibrium, where they hit you with a timer goes off and you gotta inject yourself with this serum that like takes away your emotions. So the whole thing, the whole place is like after a World War III, and it's all like concrete and everybody wears gray.
Dystopian.
There's no color. There's no like emotions. And then there's these people called clerics who go around and pick up art, you know, like say there's underground folks who are like, you know, have contraband of Mona Lisa and yada, yada, yada from...
Very Soviet,
and so,
almost. Yeah.
Right. And so the first scene, they come in and they find the Mona Lisa and like this huge stash of all this art, and they burn it. And this guy, anyway, one of the clerics stops taking his serum, and he, you know, just starts imagining and seeing the things that we see that he was, you know, blind to because of that. So like not having that imagination and that ability to use your mind that way would be fucking wild. I mean, imagine that.
But
imagine that.
Let's go back into imagination in martial arts, because we visualize, you know, you imagine the combination that's being required, but then the next step is execution of what you're imagining. And we talked about this before we started recording a little bit. The clarity in which you're able to do that. A lot of times the thing that you're imagining, when you try to execute it, it doesn't come out right. Just like draw something, you know, that you're thinking of. And also now you want to test your body control, draw that with your left hand, you know. But I've been able to do this, and this has been one of the most joyous things that I've experienced as a human. And people see me get excited like when we do this. Have you or any one of the amazing guests that we've had and this stuff comes on YouTube, because we imagined it, but we didn't just imagine it. We did all of the things to link it together and make it reality. And I've done this several times, and I joke with the boys. They call me Gandalf because I've been able to do these different acts. You know, like I opened a gym with no money, and I imagined what it could be. You know, and these other things, even like a boxer. When I get a boxer, I'm imagining what you could be or you're going to develop into, and we really don't know. We're watching the knot unwind, but some of that comes from visualization and imagination, and not just sitting around stoned imagining, but actually like how
executing,
how
your
resourceful,
imaginations.
how can you link? Can you put the dots together? Can you connect the dots? And I've been able to do that several times to create these big living art pieces.
And isn't that interesting? Because you do it, you connect those dots, and like you said, you started getting good at it. Once you do it one time, well, man, can you do it again?
I don't know.
Do it a second time,
Yeah.
and then you start to build, right?
Also, the feeling of seeing something, even the Muay TV T-shirt logo, that was an idea and a thought, and it's like walking around at the fights.
There it is.
You know, like, Muay TV is a real thing, and like this is a real thing, but it started as a thought, and it's an addicting, amazing thing. And what do you want to do now?
Absolutely.
It's like sky's the limit. I mean, we
Keep
really,
hope alive.
Yeah.
Well, and then that's the thing. Like, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to use the imagination word again.
Yeah,
It's whatever we want to imagine and how we want to execute it. And
also, are you imagining bad things, or are you imagining good things? Because I've been through dark times in my life too, where I'm using that power in a really self-blocking negative way.
Yeah.
You know, that
Absolutely.
doesn't help your
Yeah.
direction at all.
sometimes it's
Yeah.
good to think. I mean, it's good to have see both. The outcomes. What ifs.
You don't want that one.
But it is
Keep
definitely
hope alive.
not something that you want to dwell on.
Yeah.
And don't let it stunt your thought process. But
Jay, so what's up with?
so with my knee,
No,
my
no.
knee kind of hurts, and that is why I've been using Be Jolly. Dude,
I haven't tried
you
that
guys
yet,
got, like,
but I'm gonna give it a
put
full.
some of this on. I'm gonna put some on.
I'm
right
not
now.
putting it close to my armpit.
But, so this is the the Carolina Reaper.
Keep it away from the groin.
It smells so good.
How much THC is in that?
There's no THC. It's just got CBD.
They should make a special.
A little THC one.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know if
A nighttime.
Snap.
THC really is
It's
transdermal.
THC actually goes into your skin.
So THC, Chris is over here saying
Chris is an expert.
THC is transdermal. Dude, try some of this.
Transdermal absorption of the chemical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this has a little bit of Carolina Reaper in it, along with the menthol and like the Thai oil stuff, that whatever the recipe is. But so I used it. I had a little knee injury on Monday, so I've been using it. And yesterday I was working. We just got a new shipment of this stuff in. Brett sent it over, and I put it on my knee after I got out of the shower. Got dressed, went to work, started sweating. I'm rolling around underneath the house, running wire, and I start moving my leg and sweating a lot. And oh my God, my fucking leg was just on fire.
Yeah.
It was on fire.
Open the pores up.
Yeah, dude, it started just like, I'm like, oh my God, this is like.
It's burning my face right now. I'm catching a whiff, but that's good. You
But
want
I
that.
like
You
it.
need the medicinal.
It feels.
It's got to be strong.
really good.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend putting it on when you're not sweating with open pores. But
But Jay,
it's pretty nice.
what? You copied my content. You were making fun of my winter boot and shoe rotation. Like mine was serious. Like I was becoming a fashionista. And what's up? You copied my shit.
Well, it had to be done because your stories, I'm sure people will know. They'll look at them and they'll be like, "Who is this guy? What is he on, man?" Like, so I just saw this.
People loved it. People thought it was hilarious.
Your stories are
Also,
great.
the shoe game, very full grown.
Well, and here's another reason why I did this, because just the day before, or like a couple of days before this, you put that story on. You would put a video of you with your new shoes,
Yeah, I was kind of doing it all week.
and then Amanda texts me with a screenshot, and she's like,
It's called Fashion Week.
"You need these." And I'm like, those are sick. I do like those. And so I ask you, you know, where'd you get them? What are they? And you're like, Red Wing boots. And I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I could use a new pair of boots. And you know, I buy nice work boots. You know, about about $200.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I mentioned the price, and he says, they're more like $350, $400. And I was like, what the hell?
Red Wing. You know,
Red
Red
Wing.
Wing,
Yeah,
American
Red Wings.
made, really good.
Really nice. They're
At
not
least
just
10
like
years you're going to get out of these.
they're not
work
like
boots.
Totally.
they're like a finely crafted old cobbler style like boot. You know,
Right.
it's like a pressed leather, real nice. So I went in there. I'm like trying them on. I already fall in love with them, right? You know,
course.
and so I'm already convinced I'm going to buy them. And then so. Then he puts that video on, and I'm like, oh, fuck, great. Now my girlfriend's going to send me some other video or photo and, like, buy these ones. And so I just lay out my shoe collection.
Yeah.
And because my shoes are literally, like, this brand new. I wanted to show those off, too. Those brand new, the same ones you have. Nice-ass pair of boots. And then, like, 2 of the same work boots, my running shoes, and, like, my shitty Birkenstocks.
But
I
yeah,
like
it's
that.
I was kind of just poking fun at, you know, what these fashion influencers do, which some of them are pretty good. And guys, we all know a lot of guys do not know how to dress themselves. And so, yeah,
And that
I've
was-
always kind of been known for it.
Yeah.
You've only known me for a few years, but I've always been known for it. And then there's a reason. And that's why you guys give me shit about it all the time, because like in men culture, if you wear anything fancy smancy, you're going to hear about it in the locker room. But obviously at a
and
young
then he
age,
posts the story with his...
obviously I don't give a damn. You know,
Absolutely.
at a young age, why do I care? These guys wear, you know, Dockers, and you know, who are these guys on fashion anyways? But fashion was...
They're back to wearing Jankos, dude. Who the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah.
What are these
Dark
kids now?
times.
But yeah, I've always been known. For me, it's been always very interesting. Also, part of martial arts, and yeah, my gym's been known for it. And it's about style, isn't it? We talk about style in Muay Thai and martial arts all the time.
100%,
What style are
totally.
you?
Yeah.
And that's not just how you choose to present yourself with clothing, which reveals certain intellect, and it doesn't even have to be fancy. It could be normcore, but yeah, even that takes thought. You're involved in fashion. Every human can relate to that, whether you like it or not. So it's very, very interesting. Also, it's part of martial art culture, and it's about the style. The style of your punch, style of your kick, the way you walk, you know, the clothes, the garb is part of it. Even each martial arts style has its own uniform, like the Muay Thai shorts. You're not even allowed to fight Muay Thai unless you wear the Muay Thai shorts. The other thing I learned about and related to Thai culture and fashion, and I've gotten shit about this before too, if you see me at the fights, I'm always dressed very respectfully, like I'm going to go to a meeting. And that's Thai culture. In Thailand, around the ring, you need to be respectful. That's why we bow before we even touch the ring, is to show respect to this sacred area.
Yeah.
And the cornermen and the trainers, out of respect, you're not supposed to wear a hat, and you're supposed to cover your toes and your legs. Just like if you were going to go to a wedding or something like that. So I do that out of respect for the sport, the show, and my fighters. It's just a professional thing to do. Also, it's cool as hell.
Yeah. Well, and boxing I don't know if it's quite the same as it was back in like the 90s and earlier, but it was people dressed up. They'd get their furs on. They'd
Hell yeah.
tuxedos and
We're bringing that back.
yeah. I mean, it was
Like going to the opera.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe not like with a tuxedo, but like
Not
the last
but-
show,
but-
right? Rising Stars,
I mean, I wouldn't
packed.
go to there
The audience, great looking audience. You know, people dressing up a little bit, bringing their dates to it, and that's what we want. You know, that's what we
It's a
want.
show.
And everyone's looking good, and
The girls love the fights.
hell yeah, they do.
Amanda loves going to the
That's
fights.
a good date idea.
It's so, and I was surprised too.
Yeah.
I was like, you want to go to the fight? She's like, hell yeah, that'd be
Dude,
cool.
yeah.
She probably brings her friends and
And it's interesting that you were talking about the martial arts as a vehicle for self-expression. Without imagination, it's like, what exactly are you expressing? What's in there to be said if you have no imagination, and how those things are linked? You know, the
Yeah.
martial arts expression, how you wear, what you have to say. It's okay. Not everyone has to be a good talker, but there's got to be something rattling around in there, right, to express.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, we just we thought we were inspired by people from the past, in martial art culture. Like when you go to the fights, we always thought it was super interesting and kind of funny at times. When you go to the fights, it's like the Karate Kid, where you see that gym because they're all wearing the same T-shirt, and that color of that gym, they're hot pink. Okay, they're from there. Our gym, or my team, has always been known for not having a gym uniform, and you guys kind of know this, and you seriously know this from the corner, and that's something that we did on purpose, and it's something we like, that each gym has its own look, and it's kind of like the old movies, like The Warriors, or Clockwork Orange, or The Outsiders, which was our nickname on Vernon Street for a minute there. And then we were thinking about all the funny, these outfits these gangs wear, and that's where it comes from, right? It's part of the fashion of what we're doing. But we took our style inspiration off English football gangs from the 80s, and what they would do is wear casual, normal clothing. Like going to a function, why would you wear the uniform of the neighborhood you're from when you could go undercover? And they don't know where you're from.
Blend in the crowd.
Yeah, and but we kind of built a name for ourselves with that, and then when we show up, people kind of still know who we are, but that's where that comes from. Also, we wanted to be a little bit different than every other gym that are wearing a synchronized uniform. We wanted to also, I did that with my gym too, we wanted it understated so that the martial arts and the fighters and the training shined more brilliantly than the uniform. It was a skate trick. Like, you wear the old messed up shoes, but you're the slickest one on the block there. And it just it was a little bit of a style, if you will. Just like your clothes.
We don't need a uniform. We got Ezra. This dude walks into the room and everybody knows.
Yeah,
we're here.
But I think that's cool, and something to be celebrated. And we're seeing a lot of that. There's a lot of style and fashion inspiration, especially in the NorCal scene. You're seeing all these clothing shoot-offs, and it's really cool.
Muay Thai.
Yeah, express yourself.
Yeah,
it's all part of the culture. But finishing on that note, it is spooky season, so. What horror movies should we be watching with the ladies in the next month?
28 Days Later.
28 Days Later?
Hell yeah.
What, the zombie movie?
Yeah. It's always a good one during. I love
those are crazy.
I like the zombie movies.
Brendan Gleeson.
Post-apocalyptic.
So they have 28 days, 28 weeks, and then now they have the one that's been going around social media 28 years. And this is the one that has been filmed in its entirety with an iPhone. Although they have a $100,000 lens on this thing, the computers and the lens technology, right, Chris? They're able to use these phones now, which is, we're living in the future. But those are good ones.
Yeah.
Marty, any horror suggestions?
I got to recommend a classic, The Exorcist.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
The book is good as well. Yeah.
Why?
It goes more into it, and the movie is great, but there's more backstory and all sorts of extra little tidbits and information around what's going on, and the characters are just more full. But it's hard to contend with that movie because it had killer acting, killer everything. So I don't think you need to read it first. But if you like the movie, pick up the book.
Yeah, the
Chris. Creep Show. Producer Chris says
that's with all the
Show.
short stories, right?
Yeah, the shorts.
And isn't that Stephen King?
Yeah.
Remember though, isn't there one where the asteroid hit and the guy starts growing grass?
Yes.
That is Stephen King that plays that, whose birthday was just the other day, by the way.
Is this
Shout out Stephen King.
What year is this?
85 or 6.
Okay. I mean, those are the best horror ones.
Is that the one with Deborah Harry in it?
I think so.
Yeah.
She's a crazy one.
Yeah, she's keeping a kid to cook and eat or something. Yeah, that one's a classic.
ABC's a death too.
Yes, good recommendation.
Okay. Key and Peele do some good thrillers right now. They do some.
The comedians?
Yeah, they make some like Key.
Oh, I
yes,
see.
yeah.
What's he do?
Like Nope and Yep and
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
Yeah, he
Get
does-
Out.
Yeah, they're all short names.
I
But what-
like that one movie. I think it was that. What was the one that he did recently? Was it the one that was produced by the Obamas, or was that?
I don't
There
know.
was some other. That was the one where the big ship like comes onto land, and it's like,
Oh.
and then all of it's like a cyber attack from
Yeah.
some other country. But there's like they're dropping different, like one town gets dropped like a litter of like some Islamic terrorism group, things that fly out like little cards and stuff, and
Oh,
then
like leaflets and stuff.
and then like
Propaganda.
another town got like Chinese propagandist. So they
Ah.
so like Roseville thought they were being attacked by North
I see.
Korea.
What's that
Granted,
called?
They thought they were end of days.
So it's almost like what the troll
Alpha.
farms do on the internet, right? Get these people angry at
Come
these
on, we got to
people.
know the title, Jay. There's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
50 movies like that.
Chris.
Jamie, bring
Um,
that up.
Yeah, so it's the movie produced by the Obamas. It's like Julia Roberts is in it.
Oh, yeah, it's a Netflix one.
I've
Ethan
seen
Hawke.
it.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
It's like a technology hack.
Yeah,
That's
You know,
all the
and
Teslas.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do without the technology that we're so dependent on? And yeah, it's a fun one.
I could totally see the Tesla thing happening.
Yeah, but what?
They all
You guys aren't gonna
Piling up.
Leave the world behind.
Leave the
leave
world
the
behind.
world behind.
Yeah. It was funny because I was over at the boys' house and I was like, dude, you guys, let's go watch this movie, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, what movie is this? And then I like brought it up and they're like, that movie sucked, dude. And I'm like, nah.
No.
The whole group of everybody just saw it, but they all said it sucked.
That
I'm
is
all
funny.
talking it up.
Yeah. No.
What about you?
Thank you. I was waiting for someone to ask me because I got both barrels loaded.
I thought Ezra's got a good one ready to go.
Well, I'm a movie buff.
Yeah.
We always included it's Muay television.
Absolutely.
The show business and obviously it's all related. But I got a couple hot picks for you,
Okay.
and these are fun, and these are fun for various crowds. Some of the best horror movies, in my opinion, aren't the slasher gore movies. They're the psychological ones.
Definitely.
So one of the original horror movies is called The Innocents. And The Innocents is like an Alfred Hitchcock style movie, but it's done by Truman Capote, which is one of the great American authors.
Wow.
He didn't do many movies, but he did this one. And it's based on an old book, I want to say from the 1800s, Turn of the Screw. But basically, it's this caretaker of this home, this lady that moves out to this home, and she starts seeing these ghosts. But in the movie's completely ambiguous. This isn't go to the old one. This is 2022, and you're actually right on because I'm going to talk about this one next because it's the same name. So what are you doing? You're messing up my whole delivery. But yeah, Truman
Right.
Capote, The Innocents. And basically this lady starts seeing the ghosts around the property. But the movie, the way it's directed and written, you don't know, are they ghosts? Is the house haunted? Or is she haunted? And that's where it is. Like, true horror can come from your own psyche. Like, you're not going to be able to move out of that house because the next house you go to, there it is. The Innocents, 1961.
Wow.
And yeah, the way that it's done,
There was
Truman
an
Capote,
American horror story
psychological
episode just
horror.
like that.
Absolutely.
Well, this is the OG original, and yeah, it's obviously it's from a different time.
Yeah.
The younger generations can't even watch the new fast-paced movies. This one you got to sit down and watch, but it's
I feel
it's
so sorry
creepy.
for him.
It's yeah, and this is watch,
Oh my God,
dude.
a lot of the old Hitchcock stuff feels like this, though, and it's quality, too. You know?
Dun dun.
There he is.
Just staring.
There's also
Just
in the movie,
creeping, peeping.
in the movie, there's these two. She's
Lurking.
she's caretaking for these two little kids, and the little kids in the movie are always the creepiest. It's like
Yeah.
The Shining, and
Yeah.
and Steve King took pages out of these books and inspired. But in this, she's having this weird. Back and forth with the two little spoiled rich kids she stayed. That's the one of the kid. This little
Yeah,
kid,
that little
he's
shit.
like 8, but he talks to her like he's 30.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But really good. So the second one is the same name, and it was 2022 and named the same title. So we thought that was interesting. Can they do that? The Innocents 2022. And this is a bunch of...
Nothing of relation to this
No.
original?
But it's super interesting because it's... a group of autistic kids that are able to tap into their telepathic ability. And then they get stronger at it, and one of them kind of becomes evil. So the group of them has to come together to stop this other one.
Wow.
And
that sounds pretty good.
it's really well done, and the way they included these learning disorders, these different mental issues, but then these kids were using it. Look at, he just snapped that stick with like the fire starter.
Yeah. Be like brain power. Yeah.
Yeah, like their brain is working different, but these kids got together and tapped into it. Watch, boom, shot that rock at that bike.
Huh, that's cool. Imagine like knowing you could do that as a child. Holy, so cool.
One of the kids,
right.
one of the kids taps in and gets evil. I think this kid.
Yeah,
look
at
him.
that.
Yeah, and then he starts
makes
killing people.
possessed.
Oh, and then so the other kids.
What
gotta
possesses him to do that?
I can't remember, but it's fantastic. And
Maybe
look
just
at
that
those
he can,
shoes.
that he just has the power.
Some classics right there.
That's interesting that they're
great body control here. I mean, level 10 body control.
absolutely. It's interesting that they're all autistic people, and that they have these extra abilities, even though they might be reduced in other areas.
They're tapping into, well, we're only using a portion of our brain, right? That's why we're always trying to exercise these other areas, but that's a really cool take on it. And I look at it, I think it's Norwegian, which they do
That's
some
great.
really cool horror stuff.
And throughout history, people
The
that
Europeans do love it.
Yeah.
with mental disabilities have been thought of as conduits, especially for the divine, for God to talk to people. Some people think that when you hear religious people speaking in tongues, that's what they're doing, is that was modeled on the babbling sounds of a person that was mentally disabled, and that they thought they were a divine conduit.
No way.
In fact, that's where the phrase
super
comes from when someone is reduced mental capacity. They used to describe it as being touched by the angels.
I think that's what I do. I'm just babbling. I'm not sure.
Talk more about. I'm interested in that. What book did you read? Where did you learn this? Talk a little more about where you heard that from or read that from.
Yeah. So that's a concept in a lot of books, and a lot of them are relatively scary books, because that concept of people with a disability having other abilities is kind of like pretty common in literature and movies and things like that. Documentaries have talked about it a lot.
Is that more of a literature thing that people kind of fantasized about, or I mean, because from what I remember hearing, people, not until probably recently were with a mental disorder of some type were really looked down upon, and more I don't know what it was like in like the Middle Ages or such, but is that what you're speaking on is?
Yeah, and I think in different parts of the world it happened at different times, and you can see that selectivity in how we view it in other things, like in Rain Man or things like that, where they're referred to usually as a savant.
I think one of the most famous happenings of this, and I'm no history expert, but the Joan of Arc trial was very closely documented, and they interviewed her for days and days, and they interviewed her carefully because of the things that she was saying. They wrote her off as crazy, but she was saying that she was hearing stuff, and she would say these things that she wasn't supposed to know. And she would say things like, be careful what you do with me. I'm carrying the hand of God. And they were like, what?
Wild.
Holy shit. So it's either blasphemy and you're going to die, or we're going to get all the religious experts throughout Europe to come here and interview this teenage girl that did these things.
That's fascinating.
Or said these things, and then they believed her and gave her an army, and then she won. Then the story goes, So yeah.
I got to do some research on that. Of course,
Joan
I've
of Arc.
heard the name many times, but I can't say that I know anything about it.
Not a spooky season movie, but
Not
always
Noah's
worth. Joan of Arc with Mila Jovovich, The Messenger.
Yeah,
great,
really good.
great Joan of Arc movie. A
That's
little
a-
abstract, but super cool. Watch that.
The Messenger is a movie.
Is the name of the movie with Mila Jovovich about Joan of Arc.
And she does jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, she
Mila
wasn't
Jovovich.
trained on a horse. She wasn't trained with weapons. She led the charge. She led the charge. They gave her own army. They gave her her own suit of armor to fit a woman.
Damn.
Yeah.
And just said, have at it.
Yeah.
Take this army and win this war.
And I believe she's the one, her and her army are the ones that helped end the war that was going on for 100 years. The 100 Years' War, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
France and Britain. Britain
They fought
trying to
several
take
times.
everything.
Damn.
Gotta beat them out of your,
Imagine
beat them out of your country.
Imagine going, living your entire life warring with a neighboring country or a state.
She said she had a dream, and God told her to go to the king and tell her to, yes, here it is. Give me an army so I can end this war. And that's what she did, you know? But, I mean, you got to,
Yeah, I'll have to watch this one.
yeah, she was having some serious hallucinations, man.
Crazy.
But the stuff she was saying was like, you aren't supposed to know this stuff. In this scene right here, the king dresses up in regular clothes and hides himself in court with the other royals, and they bring her in and have a guy disguised on the throne as the king, and she's like, "Who is this imposter?"
She knows.
And they're like, "Well,
And she
where's the king?" And she looks around the room and picks out the king on the
Wow.
first try. Yeah. And then
and
the
this
people see this, so they start believing the lore. You know. Yeah, look at amazing movie. Yeah, you got it. Joan of Arc. Let's go.
I love this era. Like, I've always fantasized about this era. I
Yeah.
loved it when I was younger. The medieval.
Oh my God.
The riding on horses.
It's killer.
I don't think we have
castles and
enough
such.
time because I've been about that all week. I mean, it comes up a few times a year because it's related to martial arts. But and even Marty's shirt here. Marty, what shirt do we have here?
Oh, we have a Green Knight shirt from a great artist out of England named Sin Eater. He makes all sorts of things, but this is his own
That's sick.
artwork here. Yeah.
Yeah,
that is cool.
I'm digging that vibe. I would wear that very fashionably. But yeah, the Green Knight part of the Sword in the Stone, King Arthur, Mist of Avalon, and out of that same era, you would love that. Have you seen Green Knight?
I didn't know that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew.
But yeah,
You're full of all kinds of little tidbit information.
yeah,
So
it's all related.
I do know the Sword in the Stone movie.
What
and
a-
there was the guy in the green, like he had the green
In that movie,
robe, and yeah. I don't
in that
remember
movie,
knight,
it's
though.
a big tree.
Oh.
It's a big tree that comes to challenge, and the guy Percival, or I forget who, the knight that goes on his quest, does something disrespectful that sends him on his voyage. But the Green Knight is actually the guy that he hacks into, and it's part of the Books of Avalon, which the young generation is, again, this is just going to be like French to you guys, but I think the best place to start on that, and somewhere really cool, and another good Halloween movie would be Excalibur. Because Excalibur shows the sword and the stone and Sir Lancelot and how he falls in love with King Arthur's wife, Guinevere, and the whole story that's fabled for millennium that not that many people know anymore.
Right.
But I talk about it because what are the virtues of the knight? And this relates to martial arts. There's certain virtues that we upkeep. We're not just doing aerobics. There's characteristics that a warrior class person aspires to, and what are they? And we'll end it on this. This is a good one. I sent a few people on a loop with this one because they're like, "What?" So I think
spirituality is one of them.
there's 5 or 6.
I want to say charisma, but it's not this. It's a CH word.
Chastity.
Is that one of them?
That's one of them.
Now,
What are the other ones?
So bravery. You're a knight.
Yeah.
You can't be a coward.
Right.
Chastity, which we kind of know what that is. Mercy, which we talk about a lot in here. You're not allowed to bite the beginner's heads off. You got to be merciful like we were to you. What's the 4th one? Piety.
What is that word?
Exactly. And I always say that, and people's eyes roll up because it's not like a used word, right?
Right.
Because this isn't trendy. Jamie, can you pull up piety? Yeah, P-I-E-T-Y.
T-Y? Huh. I have a.
So
I got a friend's last name,
Someone who's
Piety,
pious, yeah.
but it's Piety.
Reverence.
So piety. Your movements need to be
Seven.
based on what the knights are doing. Their movements are driven by what God wants, and that's basically what the king has the word of God and commands those. So they have to obey that. They don't move by what their own manly wants want. Their job is to pursue what their purpose is. And then the fifth one, but yeah, piety, that's a tough one for the new generation because you're doing something for the greater good and not just for your own little 3-bedroom bank account. You know, you're part of the big picture, which is awesome. You know, that's a powerful thing to tap into. The fifth one is friendship. And then that's the one I've been talking about a lot. And that's another one that hits so hard in the modern generation because why would that be a quality? It's because it's hard. It's hard to be a good friend because you have to be there. You have to be there for your friends. It's brotherhood.
Yes,
yeah, it's camaraderie.
It's a give and take.
And it's not just, the new thing is I'm only going to support, I'm only going to like, I'm only going to share the people that share and like my stuff. But what if they can't? What if they're not in a place of health that can? You're going to disown them? So that doesn't add up. You know, friendship, you need to be there for your friend when they need your help.
Totally.
If you can help them. You know, not just when they're doing good and can show you love back. That's all based on you.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Real friendship, I'm gonna snatch you up. I'm gonna check on you. You know, and if I can help you, I'm going to. And that's your duty. It's not because it sucks to come help you move or lend you some money or whatever you got to do. But that's part of being a friend.
Community is a.
And that's a beautiful thing, especially when
Absolutely.
you've been in that position. I've needed that. And I don't take my friends for granted at all.
Absolutely.
And I really work on maintaining my friendships because they're easy to let go. They're easy to let drift away.
Yeah.
It's not easy having friends. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, if you don't kindle a relationship and you don't, you know, give and receive, then it can just go months and months without talking to your best friend and
or even worse, though, in martial arts,
knowing what they're doing.
In the martial arts, it gets worse with betrayal.
Absolutely.
You know, where we get close. We've been to war together. You know, we've shared real tribulations, and after even 10, 15 years, they can backstab you or burn you, and that hurts a lot too because you've shared these intimate moments, and yeah, that's something. The real brothers, they're not going to do that. But if they do, maybe they were just in a bad mental position. You know, it wasn't even anything personal. They were burning down everything around them. So I've had to come to that realization as well as I've gotten older, is to forgive and understand.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to let you sleep in my house because you stole $1,000 in cash and you drove to Hemet and you tried to buy a Toyota. So yeah, I can't. I don't.
Hey, fuck that guy.
That guy was on a sick one.
He tried to come back and hang out too. I mean, come on. I'm a nice guy. You know, I forgive and move on. But martial artists, we do not forget, and we draw the line at some point.
Amen. Was that the last? What did we go through all 5 of the words? We went through piety, chastity,
on my
bravery, friendship, and then what was the 5th one?
Bravery,
chastity,
piety,
mercy,
piety,
Friendship.
Got it.
Yeah, and those are good ones. Chastity, when people hear that, they're just like, no. You know, but that just means in the older days, the knights when they were roaming could take a woman. Or even you go back further, like Roman Empire type of stuff, where there was all different kind of sexual interactions happening. Piety, or chastity was controlling yourself.
Right.
It was sleeping with your wife.
Right. instead of just excess.
Sleeping with everything like a beast. It was
Chastity, does it always have to do with self-harm?
I think it has a lot to do.
Sexual self-control.
Yeah.
Okay,
In the old
so
generation.
in Angels and Demons,
Mm-hmm.
when the guy, I don't know what side he was on, he was
Hitting himself.
yeah, and like tie like a a
Yeah.
leather belt with like spikes into his leg.
And they call that flagellation, not flatulation. That's when you're gassy. Flagellation, I think, is that religious hurting yourself.
But those guys
Hitting
are
yourself.
doing a different level of it.
Yeah.
Like some
that
of
was
the priests,
gnarly.
they don't, but they don't. They're
or
not
staring
having,
at the sun in Eastern traditions, or doing different things like that, allowing your body to wither to show your how serious you are for your religious purposes is a broad concept. Yeah.
Dope. Sick. Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Well, man, we touched so many areas.
What a great one.
But Marty,
That was great.
I have to leave this. This is a something that goes around the area, and I have to confirm it. We have to capture it.
Okay.
Is in jiu-jitsu, you roam around gyms, and you're known to pop into gyms, and it's known that you haven't been tapped in many years, like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Is this fact?
Yeah. It's been a long time.
That's
I mean, and he
fucking
won't talk about it.
crazy.
I have to
If
brag for him.
You guys are listening thinking, no way.
He
There's
roams
no
around,
way.
and that's shocking because I watch him roll with guys, and I mean, they tap 30 times in a session, years and years, and I mean that goes along with the title, and all respect to that. I know that that's a very difficult science, and
you're
even
not
the
just-
good guys get tapped, right?
You don't. Where do you train at right now? Precision or?
No, I train in my garage. I just pop in, like Ezra said. I go to
Okay.
different schools.
Watch
here and
out,
there,
you'll
but
pop
that's it.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be a.
But there's no shortage of good gyms around here.
That would-
It's hard to find a bad gym.
This is a good area.
But that
Oh,
would
yeah.
be amazing. That would be amazing if Marty drops in your gym. I mean, that's a huge honor. That's how it should be looked at. But that's not always how it is. But that's a super cool. I love that.
Yeah,
you
take
know?
a take a
thank
picture
you.
next
Pop
time you're
in.
rolling with him. Hashtag Sacramento's most deadliest man. I mean, you're,
Yeah, and yeah, it just touches on the martial art character thing that I gotta promote for him. He'll never utter that, but I got it on camera. So, so there you go.
I got this THC cream. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad
Yes.
you're on our team.
Yes, sir.
You know, and you guys trying to beat me up. I'm too old. You know, I'm 68 years old and out of shape. So
Marty comes in.
If for 10 grand, we're doing that at Thunder Valley. You know,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna get Marty, and Justin will promote it.
I'll raise the funds.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, Marty comes in off the couch, and he comes and spars with our champions because he's the guy that they need. They don't have any, there's not a whole lot here for Berto and Orion to work with, and he comes in and literally works with the pros and right off the couch.
Thank you.
It's awesome to see. It's great to have you as a teammate.
Yes,
you. I appreciate
yes.
it.
It's the
Glad to be here.
size. It's the gigantic size.
Mm.
It's the level of
elusiveness.
Yes,
his
it's-
elusiveness is out of this world. The movement.
But it's the use of his size. It's the skill on the feet, but also on the ground, and also it's the intellect and what you've been through in your life. That's what makes you the level that I'm talking about. Are all of those things put together? And I'm thinking about your weaknesses, and I was telling the guys in the gym, like, what are we going to do with Marty? Like, how would we beat him? And I told him, I said, well,
A rope.
no. I said, Marty's flat-footed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So we would stand high on the hill, 150 meters up the gravel hill, and we would yell obscenities and we would make Marty run up that hill. And once he got fatigued, we would flank him.
Yep.
And we would have to do a David and Goliath pretty much. That's our only chance.
Yeah.
Run, make him tired.
That's true.
David and Goliath.
Yeah, Marty, you're a fascinating man, dude. I
thank you.
didn't, I know we've had some hanging out, and we had the man's trip up to Tahoe.
Yes, sir.
But hearing you talk on the podcast for this episode it's been awesome to hear how
This is more than I've talked all year.
I bet. I bet your wife's probably pissed. But yeah, you're a really like put together man,
thank you.
it's you're not like you do a lot of cool things, but you're not flamboyant about it. You kind of have that cowboy essence to you, where you don't need to say much, but a lot is proven. And what you do shows that you know what you're doing and that you're capable and you're smart. And I love to hear back to when you said I started doing jiu-jitsu because I knew that I didn't know. And that's a huge thing for anybody to realize, and even at that age. So yeah, man, you're a great person, and I'm happy to be able to hear more about your life and who you are.
Well, thank you. And I feel just like the luckiest girl in school getting to sit here with you guys. So
No, it's an honor, man.
There's not a whole lot of seats at this table, so
yeah, no, I appreciate
we had to make it happen.
thank you for making that happen.
Yeah, I love
Thank
this.
you for training this guy. And
Man,
Yeah.
I'm
Creating
lucky,
such
even all you guys, like look at the guys, really just feel blessed.
oh, I just want to hug you guys. All right, well, let's wrap for episode
Awesome
10.
one. Thank you guys again
Thank
for
you.
tuning in, and we'll see you with the next one.
If you're like us, you've likely clashed with your training partner, leading to some painful moments. Fortunately, there's a solution. Be Jolly is a US-based company that creates all-natural pain relief products designed to ease your aches after a tough session. Their formula includes cannabis roots, CBD, coconut oil, local beeswax, and sometimes even Carolina Reaper to deliver the ultimate relief. Created with care by an owner who truly understands the importance of quality, Be Jolly products are made right here in the US. You can find Be Jolly products on Instagram at BeJollyLotion or online at BeJolly.com.